Hello, Kansas and Western fans. It's time for update number 53 of the construction of the Kansas and Western HO scale model railroad. We're going to do things a little bit different today because there's not going to be a poll at the end of today's video, and we're not going to do a full tour because I'm about to take some vacation for a couple weeks. Probably won't be any videos, probably won't be much work done on the layout. So we're going to focus on what my task was for the last 2 weeks, which was over here at the El Dorado Industrial Park and Rail Yard. As you can see here, I did not get much done. It's summertime, my wife is home because she's a school teacher, so I just spend a lot more time with her than I do on the layout, and as it should be. What I did get done though was I did get the overspray done for all the tracks, as you can see here. I just do that base coat for everything to make sure we get rid of the plastic sheen of the ties and get the side rails done so that all you see is the top rail. And as you can see here, I don't even have those all cleaned off yet. One thing I have been working on is these loading racks, these individual loading racks. Still only have just one more done, unfortunately. You can see here, thanks to some photos from someone in the know, I found out the safety cages are all aluminum. They're not painted safety yellow or anything like that. So I'm going to come back and repaint this one because I was just guessing at the colors for that one. Otherwise, they are all aluminum. And the other thing I learned is that they're mobile. They can move these around to shift them as needed depending on the size of cars. I'm not going to worry about making these mobile. They work really well, these models, on their own little concrete stand, which gives me a good segue into what I'm going to do in this area. And you can see here for mirrors, I've got a bunch of this sheet cork laid out and some flat styrene. And that's because I'm going to do concrete between this last spur track and the wall or the backdrop. And I'm going to do that for all of these scenes because they all have a lot of concrete, as you can imagine. These more modern industries do utilize a lot of concrete just to keep things clean, make it easier for workers to walk around and so forth, move equipment around. So I'm going to be doing that, and I thought the easiest way to do that would be to use sheet cork, because what I want to do is, you can see here, all these tracks are up on cork roadbed. This is the main line here, it's on HO scale, and then these spurs are on N scale, and that's because I have been out to the site at Mears, and it does lead in on some raised bed, raised roadbed, the track that is, as it goes into the facility. And then the facility itself, the elevation rises up around the tracks so that it becomes level with the rails. And, you know, I can guess at what that is. That's obviously is probably just easier to move equipment around the tracks, easier for workers to walk around without having to worry about tripping on rails, things of that nature. They use track mobiles out there, so it's probably easier to maneuver those on and off the tracks as needed. So that's what I'm working on here. Just trying to cut it to shape, and the shape of the track, how it curves, and then add that to the styrene. Kind of hit or miss on how exact I can do that. So I'm kind of messing around with that, but that's what the point is of that. A couple other things that I'm working on. You guys know that I was working on that tie spacer kit, and several of you encouraged me to go ahead and try to figure out how to add the hydraulic lines, and so that's me attempting to do that here. And you can see I've managed to get some glued in place, and I'm just trying to experiment on how to tuck those in back there behind that operator's chair. I've got a couple on this hydraulic hose or thing there, and then a couple more here on those pinchers. So I got to do 2 more on each side, and that'll probably be the extent for that. It's not horrible. I just have to get those kind of cut to length so I can just kind of tuck those back there. I'm not sure if there's any way I could glue those back there. There's just not really any way to get in there, I don't think, to do anything effective. I could probably dab some glue in there, but there's no way, I don't think, that I could accurately put anything together back there. So anyway, enough on that. A couple other projects. Working on some buffer cars. This is an older model Chicago Northwestern grain car, and now you can tell it's just quite a bit different than the grain cars they use now. It has these upper hatches. These are the kind of older cars that they use for buffer cars, or at least one type. I've got another here, an old Missouri Pacific box car that I'm going to be labeling as a buffer car. So when I do haul the tank cars around in my layout, I'm following FRA rules and putting a buffer car between the locomotives and those. So that's the point of those. And then I want to thank Alan Mady. He was in the search for a windsock for his refinery, and he finally found one, a 3D printer, I think from Canada. Yeah. Actually, yeah, Ontario, Canada. So right across the border from the U.S. there in Niagara Falls. And he decided to send me one. So that was pretty cool of him. So I just have to get it separated and get that stand all separated, put together and painted. And then we'll find a place on the refinery to put that. So that's about all I've gotten done for the last couple of weeks. Oh, one other thing I want to show you. If you saw the thumbnail from my last operations video that was all in the dark, I think there was some question about where the photo was taken in the thumbnail. Some thinking that it was in the tunnel. And this is the train in its actual position. And I took the photo from right about here. So what you can see reflecting in the lights is this rock outcrop. So I think that effect looked pretty cool. I look forward to doing some more of those nighttime shots. So that is that for today. Now, even though I don't plan to work on the layout or do any more layout videos for the next couple of weeks, we are going to be taking a trip to Colorado, and it is going to follow the route that this whole layout is based on. So we're going to be starting in Wichita and proceeding west, which would be to follow the layout back in that direction. So what I'm going to try to do is take little video clips of all of the locations that this layout is based on. Because again, it's based on the highway route that we took to Colorado when I was a kid, and we're going to follow that same route here next week. So I'm going to stop at all these locations as close as I can get to all of them. And I should be able to get pretty close. The only issue will be the power plant. As you can imagine, they don't want people getting too close to that. So we're going to see if I can put some clips together and make a video of that. So we'll be doing a tour of the layout in prototype mode, I guess. So I'm excited to do something like that. Plus, I do have my tickets for the Durango-Silverton Railroad. I'm looking forward to that. I haven't done that since I was probably 12 years old and don't really remember it that much. So I plan to take some video shots of that. So a couple videos to upload for you when I get back from vacation. Excited about that. And then one other thing we're going to go into the office to discuss. For those that have been following along with my backdrop saga, we've got that solved. William got back to me today, in fact. That guy works on holidays, apparently. I don't pass that word on to anybody, though. And he was able to achieve what I wanted, so I'm going to zoom into the different parts of this backdrop, this 37-foot-long backdrop. So here's the refinery from his own layout, or his own commercial offering. He's integrated that into some of the backdrop that I wanted. He's got the tanks where I wanted them. He added his refinery, I think, to fill the space because 7 foot long would have made the tanks too big. So I think scale-wise, this is going to work just right. And it's going to add more depth, I guess, to my refinery scene by having some more on the backdrop. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. And then, if you remember, I wanted him to use one of his others. Actually, I'm just going to show you because it's kind of neat what he's able to do. All right, so we're on his website, trainjunkies.com, and this, the one that I wanted him to modify is called his Spring Pasture. And as you can see here, there are snow-capped mountains in the backdrop, mountains across the entire backdrop. But what caught my eye was the fact that kind of in the horizon at level grade, he's got a row of trees. And so what made me think that he could remove the mountains was there's this kind of a line that's already in the photograph that would allow him to remove the trees or the mountains. And that's basically what I had him do. So we'll go back and look at what he actually did. And that is the same scene. That is the exact same scene, except the mountains are gone and he added a sky with clouds in the backdrop. So anybody out there who's thinking of doing backdrops and having a hard time finding what they want online, don't be afraid to ask whoever the vendor is to see if they can modify it from something they already have. Now, as I scroll across, you can see this red line, and I think that's just kind of a divider from his commercial backdrop and my photos. So I was able to keep some of my photos. This is actually of a wheat field between near Benton, Kansas, on the north side of Highway 254, and you can see he blended portions of that wheat field into his scene to make it look like a seamless transition. And so all of this is part of that scene near Benton, Kansas, and this is actually going to be placed on my layout. This section right here actually is going to be where Towanda is, and I decided to get rid of the houses because I couldn't make those to scale. But we're just changing the perspective of the viewer on my layout. Instead of looking towards town, we're going to pretend that we're in town, looking out of town. And that works with the prototype as well because the tracks go through the edge of town. So we're just changing the perspective of the viewer. And then this final edge here is going to cover the area around that curve in my layout between the Wichita Yard and Towanda. So this is all going to work out really well. Hoping to have this in place by the time I get back, or soon thereafter, after I get back from vacation. So it should be quite the striking view. When we first walk into the train room, you'll see this on the far wall, covering that entire far wall. So super excited he was able to come up with a solution, and we're happy about that. So I guess that's it for now. If you guys have any questions, they'll be free to ask, but as I said, going to be heading out on vacation, so probably won't hear from me too much here in the next couple of weeks, but I thank everybody for watching. Hope you all have a great 4th of July and a great weekend, and we will check back in here in a couple of weeks. Have a great weekend.